6 million years ago, when forests covered the heart of Africa.
This is Sahelanthropus chadensis, a small creature living under the shadow of an ancient forest. It does not understand what it sees, yet within that reflection lies something new: curiosity. Their world is changing. Forests retreat and the grasslands rise. Instinct alone guides survival, fear, speed, and the desperate will to live. Yet within fear lies the seed of learning. In darkness, fear gives birth to awareness. The instinct to hide becomes the first spark of thought. From fear, it rises into light scant, unaware that this step marks a turning point written deep within the history of life. A simple act, hands leaving the earth, feet claiming it instead. In those eyes, the first question was born part, not of fear, but of wonder. One small step upon the ancient earth, yet in that motion. 3 million years later, a new species rises, Australopithecus afarensis. She lived in groups, families bound by instinct and care. Among them, the seeds of empathy began to grow. They were not hunters, yet curiosity drew them to watch, to remember, to learn. Nature forged them through storm and struggle, testing their strength beneath every roar of thunder. From chaos came calm, and from the storm's fury, the will to endure. Simple marks upon wet earth talon. Yet in these fragile impressions lies the story of us all. Fear met fascination track, and within that flicker of fire, the dawn of thought began to stir. For the first time, a creature looked at fire not with fear, but with thought. From ashes, she learned warmth, humper, a memory that would outlive the flames themselves. Guided by fear, by wonder, and by survival sick, she carried the first spark of what would one day become humanity. 2 million years ago, a new kind of being walked the earth, Homolus, Homo habilis. With every strike, instinct gave way to intention, the first rhythm of invention, echoing through time. For the first time, they shaped tools, and in doing so, shaped themselves. Evolution is not a moment, it is a journey. Each step they took carried the spark of something greater. From the mountains came fire, not from the sky as before, but from the living heart of the earth itself. Pain taught him respect. Warmth taught him memory. The flame spoke, and he began to listen. Around the flame, fear faded, and community was born. The night was no longer their enemy. In the dance of shadows, imagination awoke Tut, the first stories written in light and movement. In the glow of fire, he saw himself tomb, the first reflection of thought, the silent birth of awareness. And from that moment, fire no longer belonged to the gods, it belonged to humankind. The light they carried would never fade. From Africa, our birthplace, they began to move, drawn not by fear, but by the endless call of the horizon. They crossed the great deserts, chasing water, chasing hope, and never once turned back. In the smallest oasis, they found more than survival turned. They found belonging. Beneath the stars, they learned wonder and began to dream beyond the world they knew. Through ice and wind, they endured, shaping fire to warm and will to guide. Even in the coldest dark, the flame endured, carried from heart to hand, from generation to generation. They crossed mountains higher than dreams, carrying within them the unbroken spark of their origin. The unknown called to them, and they answered, not with fear, but with footsteps. At the edge of the world, they looked beyond fear and dreamed of lands yet unseen. And so they sailed into the darkness, carrying with them the light of every dawn that came before. They hunted not for hunger alone, but for memory, for the story that would feed those yet unborn. Around the flame, they learned to share, and in sharing, they learned to speak. Sound became meaning, and meaning became memory. With breath and voice, they began to shape the invisible. With a breath, they marked their presence, the first signature of humanity. In flickering firelight, imagination took form life reborn in pigment and stone. From rhythm came unity, and in unity, music was born.
For the first time, they mourned, and in mourning, they touched the eternal.
Symbols gave form to faith, and faith gave shape to the soul. Through stone, they began to speak to eternity.
From art to faith, from death to song, humanity rose not
From the wandering plains, they returned to the earth Puve, to sow, to build, to stay. Beneath branch and stone, they found warmth, and in that warmth, the first idea of home. No longer a mystery, no longer a god, fire became their servant, their guardian, their heart. From stone, they carved progress prawns, each edge a step toward mastery. With open hands, they placed their future in the soil and waited for the earth to answer.
The river fed them, carried them, and whispered, "Follow me."
From clay and will, they raised their walls Knifet, and civilization took its first breath. They traded not only goods, but trust, language, and belonging. Before the flame, they knelt, not in fear, but in reverence for the power they once feared. From earth and fire, from fear and hope, they built the first city, and humanity began to remember its own name.